are back at the start. My name's Kyle Reenders, and for those who don't know me, I followed Todd through the woods for about 12 years with the camera. And so as we tell this final chapter and write this last story for him and sharing all his hunts, I wanted to go back to the start. It only made sense to go back to the start. And so this is one of the first places we hunted together. So you can see behind me this sea of corn, and then back over there is some timber. And so that was where we went on October 4th in 2006. And we had an encounter that, if you've watched our first video, Beyond the Kill, you know about, where a nice buck comes right beneath the tree and Todd does one of these, and then he sticks his tongue out, and just amazing night.
4.5-year-old deer. Beautiful buck. Oh, I'm dying. But I know we got bigger deer in the area.
We went back a week later and we ended up killing a buck we called the Old Bull.
Right there.
You know, and I don't really know how best to tell this story other than to let Todd tell it. So we're gonna share some of his favorite hunts, some of my favorite hunts, some of Katie's favorite hunts, and really just show you who Todd Pringnitz was. And we're gonna do that by showing you what he loved to do, spending time chasing after whitetails. I mean, that is what he loved.
When I was 12 years old, I started bow hunting on Michigan public land with a neighborhood friend. I can still remember my first morning on stand where I had an encounter with a doe and two fawns. From that moment on, I was absolutely hooked on bow hunting. Because my dad was never a serious hunter, and I didn't have any other family members who hunted, I was pretty much forced to learn how to deer hunt on my own, mostly through trial and error. When I was 15, I managed to kill my first deer with a bow. The doe fawn couldn't have weighed more than 50 pounds on the hoof, but I couldn't have been more proud. The excitement of that first deer took my passion for bow hunting to the next level, and within a few years, I started becoming pretty successful with my bow. After several years of hunting almost exclusively on my own, I started talking with a local hunter that was a friend of a friend. Even though Wally was quite a bit older than I, he was as enthusiastic about bow hunting as I was, and soon after, we had become good friends and best hunting buddies. In 2003, Wally invited me on an out-of-state hunt to Illinois, and it was that single trip that changed my perception of bow hunting forever. Wally and I both killed the biggest bucks of our lives, and for two Michigan hunters, it was truly a turning point in both of our hunting careers. That next year, I found myself driving out of state 15 different weekends throughout the season. I was willing to sacrifice nearly every aspect of my life to chase the giants that I had only dreamed about a few years before. In 2004, I not only killed my biggest buck ever in Michigan, but also managed to score in a dandy buck in Illinois later that season. Wally had also shared the same success by killing his biggest buck to date in Illinois. We were two bow hunters that were living the dream. Last year, with an opportunity to work from a home office, I sold my house, quit my job, and moved to Iowa to pursue big whitetails on a nearly full-time basis. Even though I had to leave my friends and family behind, I knew the farm country of Iowa was where I was meant to be. I was chasing the bow hunter's dream, not only for myself, but really for all of my hunting buddies back home. Last fall, my dream of taking a true Iowa giant came true when I arrowed a buck that I had nicknamed the Iowa Tree Shredder. It made me realize that anything was possible if you were willing to work hard for it. It inspired me to take it to the next level, which was to document my entire 2006 hunting season on video. This is the reality of bow hunting, and this is our story.
Kyle and Katie here, and we are on one of Todd's favorite hunting spots. We're gonna go check out a couple of trees where we had some of my favorite encounters with Todd, and where Katie got your biggest buck, right?
Buck. Yeah, Fatty and Gibson.
Yeah,
Both.
so we're just gonna invite you to come along as we kind of reminisce a little bit and remember and
kind of get us to tell our side of the story behind the camera.
Yes, that's true. That's, you haven't heard that much about that. Yeah, so. So I think we're only like 50 yards from where the stand is. We're gonna dip in here, and it's been 6 or 7 years probably since I've been back over here. Let's go see what we can find. I think this is probably one of my favorite nights on stand. Was the night we had Barry come in early. It was early. We got out here at like 3, and I think he came out at 4. He came and walked, I don't know, he was at probably 15 yards right over there.
Whip. Whip. Oh my god, I can't believe I just shot Barry Sanders. I can't believe I just put air on that freaking deer. Oh my god, it's another giant. Alright, maybe not a giant. Alright, we can try an ozonics moment now. Alright, it's going right to him. Zoom out a little bit. Can you zoom out now? Oh my god. Oh my god, there's another buck behind it. Straight down when they walked. I don't even know what to say, man. We're a long ways away from it. I thought that deer lived. A long ways away. He's huge. Oh my god, he's big. How was your footage? He's gotta be dead. He's got to be dead. I stuffed it back. Hit guts for sure. Possibly liver. But went through the diaphragm for sure. Kind of an hard downward angle. He wouldn't stop. He just wouldn't stop. So I shot right where, I mean, he's like 15 yards from us.
Of course, we do that interview where Todd makes his face like this, and you know, does all that, and he's sitting there and he's texting. I'm like, I think there's another deer coming in. It's like, yeah, it's a buck. And I had to say that like 3 times because he was just sitting there, I think on his blackberry, if you guys remember blackberries. And so sure enough, we thought it was sippy cup. Turned out it was Rusty Nail. Came and walked the same spot, and he comes up and he could smell Barry, and he turned around and went back. And then he left, so we thought he was gone, and I'm sitting here, and 5 minutes later he comes back and he starts making a scrape right back here 30 yards, and then comes right through this. It's so thick now, but right up here is where we have that ozonic shot. That whole time, because we had shot Barry, Todd wasn't concerned about, he didn't have another tag, so he's throwing the milkweed just over, and there's one that just goes right by Rusty Nail's nose. And then he just goes on and kind of walked off, and that was kind of a lengthy track job for Barry. We went out that night, we didn't find much. We went out the next day and tracked most of the morning, and then we finally found him.
All right, this is where I think he might have come before. Why don't you just hang here a second? Kyle, I got him. Thank you, God. My whole life revolves around this moment. It's been so long, and this is the deer that I'm... Yeah, he looks huge laying over there. You can look at him. Oh my God. This is the moment you want to last forever. Oh my God, let's go get him. Oh my God, dude. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God, Barry Sanders. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. I can't believe it. I can't believe it. Look at that freaking deer, dude. I don't even know what to say, Kyle. I've been hunting this deer for so long, I never thought I'd see him dead.
I mean, we're 100 yards up from the berry stand, and if you go down here another 50 yards and head in the woods, maybe another 30 yards, you'll get to the stand where I spooked the rusty nail. We got to the stand, we got set up, we were sitting there, and we look over and we see this buck, and he was bedded, and he was getting up every once in a while. He would kind of just rub a little bit, and then he would bed back down.
The moment I've been waiting for. We got Rusty Nail. I think he's bedded down. He came in, I grunted, snort, wheezed, and made a rub on the tree. I saw him when he came back. Now he's just standing motionless, or he's bedded down right now. We're gonna be patient. We're not gonna do nothing rash. We're gonna wait for him to make a move. He's just bedded there and make sure everything's okay. I don't even want to talk about how big he is.
And then he started to walk away. And so I think Todd just kind of threw his last ditch effort at him and called, and you know, from where I saw him, he kind of walked off. He was going this way, and then that was it. We didn't see anything. And sure enough, we're sitting there for, I don't know, 10 minutes probably, and he had went and snuck around at a big hook and came up all the way over here, and I was trying to, I couldn't see, you know, it's when the sun was setting, so I raised my hand a little bit to try and cover my, so I could get a better look in the woods, and he caught that and snorted
right there.
and busted out of there. And I'm like, oh, okay.
Right to there.
I just blew it on like the buck that Todd was going after for years and years. He handled a lot better than I thought he would have.
We just blew an opportunity at the Rusty Nail. I had nothing I could do. He was walking. We had been watching him bedded for 2 hours, 3 hours. I don't even know.
I don't know if he ever said anything to Katie like, "That's stupid, Reenders." But yeah, even though that wasn't what we wanted, he ended up going back in that same stand, I think, about a week later after I had left, and that was when he killed him.
Oh my God. Oh my God. I just shot the Rusty Nail. I am not kidding you. I've been set up less than 5 minutes. I was literally watching. I was literally trying to figure out how I was going to shoot if he came from different directions. I look up and I see him coming. He's right here going to this rope. The wind started swirling really bad. I think I got a good shot. I'm not certain. I had one hole. He was standing right next to some honeysuckle. He turned and I knew he was going to blow out. I positioned myself. I got right in one hole and I let him have it.
Oh my God, he's a beast. He's an absolute. Look at that face on him, man. Buddy, I have spent more time thinking about you. Oh, jeez, man.
This was the second buck that I shot with Todd. We came in from the other side. So snowy, so freezing cold, like one of the coldest days. I think I had like 3 coats on. So of course we sit out here, you know, and wait hours and don't see anything. But then all these does start piling in and walking through, and there must be like a path over here by the trees. But I just remember thinking this was such a beautiful hunt because of all the deer. And then of course at last light, here comes a buck. And I think it might have been Katie's buck, or it was not necessarily the best gene type of buck. So I'm all excited. It's the last day of my season and I'm like, I'm gonna get it. And he's like, no, you're not. Hold still. And thank God he said that, because then right out, I mean, it looked like the deer on Bambi, the dad, like just coming out in the light shone, you know, and he just stood there with his head up and he looked around and he goes, don't shoot yet, you let him walk. So he's chipping in my ear, right? Don't shoot the telephone, you know that, you know, and he's all excited and I'm like, aren't you the cameraman? Isn't this your time to be quiet? So I'm getting all worked up and I'm like, my heart's like, you know, I'm like telling myself, calm down, Katie, like in my head as he's and I'm just like, I'm just gonna need to do it because he won't shut up so I can concentrate. So what happens is I take a breath as I'm getting in position with my gun, well, I breathe it into the scope, which I didn't know. So as I'm looking at the scope, I'm like, please be quiet, please be quiet. And it's foggy, but I'm like, this is my one opportunity. Like, he's gonna, So I shot, and with the scope being fogged, my vision wasn't as clear, so I spined him, which I felt really bad about because, normally I try to have a really good shot, clean shot, don't want the animal to suffer. So I look over to him as cameraman, I'm like, yeah! Like trying to have my moment that he always had right on camera and getting the real initial footage, and he's like, you didn't do it right. Like, he was all mad because, of course, the animal's suffering, and he's like, you need to get out there and shoot it. Let's go. I'm like, what about me? We got to do an interview. Like, Kyle can understand all of this. By the time it was time to do an interview, he and I were kind of at odds with each other. So now you got my fun side of the story. But, I mean, it really couldn't have been a more picturesque hunt when that deer just came out, like how you kind of envision it in your dreams. And he just stood up there. It's going to be hard for me to want to hunt a buck again, because that was kind of like the perfect hunt with him.
This field is not corn, but a number of years ago it was corn, and that is when we had the shipwreck.
He's 35 yards. Not joking. You don't see him? No, I don't. He's at 36 yards right there. He's looking at me right now. Do not move. All right, move the camera, move the camera, move the camera, move the camera. He's at 36 right there. You got him? Yeah.
And so I remember that was a crazy night. We had a number of bucks running around.
He's 39 yards.
Chasing does out in the field, and then all of a sudden we looked down the edge of the corn, because we're by where Todd had knocked him down, and there was still some standing corn, and so we looked down the edge, and there's Shipwreck, and he comes out.
That's how big he looks.
And then he goes back, and he never really stops and presents a shot, and the whole time. So back then Todd had a single pin sight,
right there.
and so he's trying to range him, and okay, he's there, okay, I'm good, okay, wait, nope, he moved, and then we range him again. So he kept on going back and forth, and the whole time I'm like, shoot him, like, why are you not shooting him? And just wondering, like, what are you doing?
It's 37 yards right there. It's 35 right there.
And then he got to this one point where he turned around and got like right here. And I don't remember if he said like,
You got him right there.
he did stop, and I don't remember if Todd said like, we'll let him get a little closer.
All right, he's gonna come closer.
Like, I don't think he's getting closer, and he just dipped back in the corn, and that was it. And that was like, oh, we just had a moment, a chance at Shipwreck, and we didn't get it. So I wasn't the only one that screwed things up. Like, just like when I messed up the rusty nail, apparently Todd did too. So that was definitely fun, and still a good memory, even though we didn't get him. Well, here we are. We're back on Katie's property. We are at the creek, if you couldn't tell, and we are gonna head in the sanctuary. We're gonna try and find the spot where we got tuner, which was a heck of a story, which I'll tell you when we get there. And then we're gonna try and find the spot where Katie, where you shot your first buck, right?
Yep, we can totally find that.
I think we are getting close to the tree that we shot tuner out of. It's right on this creek bank, which you can't see because it just looks like a jungle. But yeah, let's go see if we can find it. You know what? I think that's it. I think that's the tree right there, is it? I don't know. 9 years since I've been back in here. Yeah, I don't know. The story behind this tree in the tuner hunt was the day before we came out, the end of October, Todd was out checking trail cameras, and there was a small drainage that he had to get across. And so instead of just walking through it, he decided he was going to jump. and he sprained his ankle something fierce.
Got x-ray, it's not broken.
I remember he went to the doctor and said, well, they're like, well, it's just sprained. And he was like, well, can I make it any worse? Like, am I gonna break it? And they're like, no, if you can deal with the pain, then you're good. And so he, I don't know, made something to wrap around his ankle so then he could get it in waders, because we had to cross the creek in waders, and then get over here. And he had a giant stick that he was using like pretty much as a crutch. And I feel like that just talks about his determination when it comes to whitetails, that even though he had a practically broken ankle, he wasn't gonna let that or a creek or whatever get in the way. And we got, that was a buck that he had gotten velvet footage of that summer, and so that was the #1 buck that he wanted to go after that year. And so we got set up, and we weren't set up an hour, and he comes strolling right out over here. He came from over here and walked right in and gave us, I think, a 30, 40, I think a 40-yard shot. And yeah, it was just like every textbook, everything we wanted to happen happened. And that was another fun adventure that we had.
Bab? Did that really just happen? My whole season has been based on that one buck. I wanted to kill that buck so bad.
It's always, I don't know what the word is. It's bittersweet, I guess, is the word, to come back to these places where I have, you know, these fond memories. And I was thinking about it, and if I tried to, I don't even know, if I tried to total up the amount of hours that I spent in the tree with Todd, I mean, it's probably a year of sitting in a tree. Like, yeah, a lot of good times.
This is the spot where I killed my first buck. It was the last day of the season. I'd passed does, but Todd's like, no, this is your year for a buck. You got a doe last year. So I kind of went in half-hearted thinking, you know, we haven't really seen any bucks. We're probably not going to see one, but we'll give it the best shot. But we'll take you in here and then I'll explain more in detail of the fun that ensued. So that set of trees right there, the deer came out from over here. So we were hunkered down right over here in a half wonky blind. And we brought, I don't know, those little cloth fences that you use for turkey hunting.
Mm-hmm.
And so, oh, there's my little half looking blind, as you can see. She's a beaut, Clark, she's a beaut. So this used to be a little bit looking better than it is now, but we were in here. We had one of those cloth turkeys here, and as you can kind of see, the green around kind of gives you cover too. So I think it was last light, and I'm just like, we haven't seen any animals at all, you know, and you only have one spot to look in this situation. So we just kept waiting, and we thought we heard something, and I saw him first. He's like, okay, you need to get ready. And it was cold, and it was my first time, so I'm, of course, like, really anxious and excited, and my heart is beating super fast. And he's like, okay, now don't shoo him through the trees. You're gonna have to wait until he comes out and steps out. So I figured I would just line my gun up in the scope right past that tree, like, and just wait. Like, there's no need of watching unless, like, get the shot. And so he just keeps talking. And I'm just thinking, aren't you supposed to be quiet right now? Like, don't do this, do this. And I'm just like, I'm ignoring him because I'm needing to be calm. But it happened. I shot him. I got a good shot. And as he's giving me advice, I had already shot. So I think he was a little shocked that, I don't know if he was quite on camera already.
Oh my God, you just shot Fatty. You just shot Fatty.
Is that one of yours?
Yeah, big 5-year-old. He's like 150, 160-inch deer.
Did you not want me to shoot him?
No, that's one of the bucks we were...
Is that okay?
Yes, you just shot one of our big shooters.
I think he got it this time.
Dude.
Oh my gosh. I'm so
That's the Fatty buck. He's a giant 5-year-old.
I'm excited, but I don't want to get my heart broken like the last time I thought I got.
No,
why did you jump so early though?
You pounded him. He's just so close, but he fell right there. He's literally...
He did the interview after I shot it, because I think I was just like, did that really happen? And Todd just like, oh my gosh, like a typical Todd reaction. That's where I'm like, wait, who's the hunter here? But, so he ran, and of course, you know, if you look, it's a pretty flat, nice, neutral area ground, but where'd he go? He died in the ravine. He was going up to get away from me on the hill, but he died in the ravine.
You got him? Yeah, set it down. Look at that buck.
I knew he'd die in the cavern. It had to be difficult.
Look at that buck down there. You smoked him. Look at that.
I know I needed it this time.
What a buck.
Who is this?
That is Fatty. I've been hunting him all year, Katie.
Oh.
Wow.
Well, I was thinking we were going to go out this morning, and then I felt like kind of like a loser because I didn't go out this morning. But yesterday morning, my fingers were like completely numb. I couldn't have shot. This was like perfect.
20 yards. He came right on.
Like,
It was the perfect setup.
there were
just what I
shots.
hoped.
It sounded like World War III all around us.
He snuck in with the south wind. The wind was blowing out this way. He snuck in from right up here. This is where they bed, right up in here.
This spot always is sentimental to me because it was my first buck kill with Todd on video. And I'm grateful that I have that to show Baker someday.
Back in this woods over here was where we passed Bentley. I remember we got in there and we're sitting there, and it's early in the night, and we saw a couple little bucks, I think, and then all of a sudden Todd says, there's a buck, and he said, oh, it's Bentley.
Oh my God, it might be Bentley. I think it is Bentley, Kyle. Dude, I don't know what to do.
Bentley comes up and he starts rubbing on a tree. I'm like, okay, sweet, this is gonna be awesome. He's like, I think I'm gonna pass him. And I remember thinking, you know, hearing that in my headphones and being like, what? You're not gonna shoot this buck? This is a buck that, you know, you've been wanting to get for a little while. And yeah, I think a lot of people thought that was crazy. That's the one we always heard about, passing Bentley.
I cannot believe I'm doing this. There are moments in a bow hunter's life where the kill doesn't even matter, and that is one of them right there. It's a buck that is gonna be a giant, an absolute monster. Any of you bow hunters out there who are afraid of passing the buck because somebody else is gonna shoot him? Dude, it's like my favorite thing. I love it. Maybe I'm nuts, but it's the most rewarding thing in the world.
That was a fun night because we had two other big bucks, Big John and Bo, I think was his name, come through. So we had 3 mature bucks that night that we got to lay down some sweet footage of. I think for me that was kind of one of the things that would set Todd apart in my book, was just his ability to say, okay, well, we're gonna let that buck go. We're gonna give him another year. And he loved to do that, and to get the footage of it and to tell the story, I think that just made it that much more exciting for him. You know, for me, when I look back over all that time spent in the woods, you know, I probably spent nearly a year in the woods with Pringnitz, just hunting, sitting in the stand with him, and man, I think about all these good memories, all these good times. But for me, if all I did was give Baker, you know, his son, a chance to get to know him, you know, that's worth it for me. I think what an opportunity he has to learn his dad through the stories that he told and all the encounters and everything. And so that's such a legacy to leave. And so I'm thankful for that I was able to be a part of documenting that for Baker, so he can get to know his dad a little more through the hunts that he went on, and hopefully maybe someday follow in his footsteps.